started my business. I was laid off, single mom, like literally had negative $400 in my account. And then in 6 months, I had doubled my corporate salary, and it was through high ticket offers. Yeah. Like I was crushing it. And
Yeah.
then,
Oh my
I
God.
just started talking about that, and people were like, show me. One of my core main purposes is to play an important role in ending the broke healer curse for good. And it starts with these types of conversations.
There is no one way to priestess. In this modern world, the professional priestess isn't just reclaiming her power. She's owning her right to be seen, supported, and supremely resourced. Money, visibility, the team, devotion, she gets to have it all because her work is the work. And the world is catching up, learning that her presence is priceless. Because when she thrives, the medicine multiplies. I'm your host, Lindsay Schroeder, and I'll be connecting you with sacred alchemists at the forefront of the feminine revolution. The modern priestess is building her empire through her essence. This is the space for those ready to return to the temple, the one that lives deep within. Jessa, I am so excited to have this conversation, and I really need to start by letting everybody know that you are truly one of the only individuals that I'm seeing that is doing what you're doing in the way that you're doing it and being this new type of leader. And as someone who's tapping into this priestess community, this healer community, and I'm speaking to the magical worker as well as the business owner, I am overjoyed to be able to spotlight Spiritual Baddie HQ and your gifts because you are revolutionizing the way that healers are standing in their business owner without discrediting their healer and making, as you've said, FU money, which is so important for heart-centered, spiritually aligned, purpose-driven healers to make good money. Let's get rid of the you go woke, you go broke bullshit, because we don't have to be stuck in that anymore. So welcome. Thank you. I'm so excited to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I appreciate that recognition in the introduction because that's exactly what I'm here for and why I'm building the brand that I'm building. And I do believe that business is such a powerful vehicle. It's one of the many ways that healers can actually change the world and create lasting impact and legacy and transmute and transform their wealth coding. And so I'm really excited to be here and chat more with you.
I want to jump right in and have you speak to the fact that those of us who are healers, I know there are some anomalies, but for the most part, those of us who are healers, we don't understand or we don't focus on or we feel resistance around the business part of things. And we're so capable and gifted and overflowing in the energy, in the what am I doing? What am I offering? And yet so many are stuck in I'm phenomenal at what I do. And yet I don't have the clients coming in. I don't have the possibility to share my work when all I want to do is share my work. What is a starting point? What is the first thing that you're telling to us when someone comes to you or when all of us are just looking up at you on this episode going, okay, how do I shift that? How do I fix that? Where do I start?
Yeah. That's honestly it's one of those things where it's like the answer's actually in the question itself. Like, I love my work. I know I'm magical as fuck. Like, I know I'm powerful. I know my stuff so well. And so much of what we've been taught as healers is, and entrepreneurs is like, learn social media and learn business. And really the primary focus and shift that I have my students make is like, focus on just sharing like your gift and your wisdom and your teaching. And that's going to bring your people to you, and they're going to be like, I want more. Because only, right, like what may be basic to you at this point in your spiritual journey is absolutely life-changing to so many. So much of the collective is still kind of in their like basic beginner journey of their spiritual journey. And that medicine is so incredibly needed now more than ever. So if you
Hmm.
can just focus on writing and sharing and recording and posting what you already have, like there's no need to be someone that you're not. Hit record and start yapping.
Oh,
And your people will find their way to you. That's the beauty of the algorithm. That's the beauty of social media and the internet, is that you can find your people and your people can find you by simply you being you and you sharing your wisdom and the magic that you already have.
this was a lesson I deeply had to learn. And the podcast is a big piece of that manifestation.
Mhm.
For years, I was told, do a podcast. You're so phenomenal at interviewing and talking, and you can pull these random people for live streams that just say yes to you and like you love it.
Mm.
And I had this limiting belief that if I did a podcast, I would be giving away so much of my magic that no one would want to pay me. And it's actually
Mhm.
the fucking opposite of that.
Yeah.
Exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying, that yes, could someone truly like search everything I've ever put out there and like put it all together? Yeah, but like that takes so much time and most people aren't
Yeah.
going to do that. And for that one person that does or can, amazing, wonderful. I give that to you. But for the most
Mhm.
part, my ideal clients are going, "Oh, wow, that's it. That real thing that she taught me that I feel moving inside me. I want more of that and I want it customized for me." Bam, done. And I had to
Absolutely.
rewire that limiting belief of the if you give it away for free, no one's going to pay you. So I love that that's
Absolutely.
where you started.
Well, and I get this question all the time, like, how much is too much when it
Yeah.
comes to free content? And I feel it's so critical that we reflect the basic energetic principle of the universe, is like abundance is reflected back to us. So be
Mhm.
generous and give from a place of overflow, because coming from scarcity and lack and fear is only going to be reflected back. And so when you just share freely and you're like, here it is, this is me, this is what I know, there's a huge difference between binging someone's podcast, watching their YouTube channel, reading every email they send out, scrolling through their Instagram, and actually being held in a container
Done.
and investing to be seen by a powerful healer. Like, it's night and day, right?
Yes.
Like, they could go through every podcast episode you release. They could subscribe to every video and watch and comment, but it's not going to be the same as being held and see. And too, when you create a course or a membership, you've intentionally mapped out a path for your people, that it's not the same as what you're posting on the internet, right? Like, because you might be posting a tutorial one day or behind the scenes or answering a question. It's not going to be the same as investing in the containers. And so that's also a really big shift that folks can make. It's like, when you're holding back and you're still wavering on, like, what do I post and is this too much, that's reflected back to us. And also, it takes the guesswork out of your content when you're like, I'm giving all this shit away. Right?
Yeah.
Like, because you don't have to overthink it anymore. And the energetic release of, like, I'm free to just share. I'm free to share my heart, my wisdom, my mind. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of content planning.
Yeah. Ugh, that and logically, I think so many of us know that. Like, I knew how
Yeah.
different my ceremony, my ritual, my energy
Mm,
healing, my, "Oh, let me hold the container and bilocate and get inside the container and guide you through and prep and
yeah.
integrate." I logically knew that, and yet for
Yeah.
literal years, I was,
Hmm.
"No, not gonna do a pod. No, I can't give that away. No, I won't do the behind the scenes of what I've talked about in my client sessions. No, I," and it was so limiting, and I was self-inflicting this limitation following
Hmm.
what I now label as more bro marketing, bro,
Yeah.
type of entrepreneurial blah, 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 and I'm
Yeah.
like, how did I even get here? So I want to talk a little bit about what it means to be a spiritual entrepreneur, or what I call a soulpreneur, where it's not just
Mm,
how you make your money, but it's your purpose, it's your passion.
mm,
It is who you are in addition to what you're doing, and how that is more intense. You care more, you're more sensitive, you might
mm.
lean more towards anxiety about it or the freeze response about it. Do you find that you're seeing that a lot in clients because we care so much, because it's our sacred energy work, and what we used to sit in a temple and they would come to us and tell us, I value this, I want this, here, we'll pay for all your food and put you up here. And now I'm having to get on the internet and market myself and sell myself versus just being in my priestess, just being in my seer.
Yeah, absolutely. This happens a lot too, and it's a lot of undoing past life stuff and finding the way in which the energy can be honored and still feel sacred in this digital space. And it goes back to what I just shared. It's like, just show up as you, because when you show up as your pure, authentic, real goddess, there's no, the marketing and the sales happen because people recognize, they say, I'm going to honor this person for their gifts, right? Like they've given me so much. And I'm going to use Shira Seven as an example. I don't
Mhm.
know how many of y'all know her, but I absolutely love and adore this woman. She doesn't, label herself formally anymore as a priestess, prophetess, goddess, but she is absolutely, right?
Yeah.
And also a healer, because she's teaching women, and specifically Black women, how to rewrite their love and romance stories and wealth
Yep.
and all of that. And so she's somebody who just shows, she hits record and goes and shares and doesn't hold back. And what has happened? She's absolutely blown up. She's a household name at this point
Yeah.
because people have recognized her gifts and the wisdom that she shares in the unique way that only she can share it. And so if you can, again, reframe this whole like social media and business and having to market and sell and focus on who am I and what do I have to share and the unique way that only I can share it. And even if your message may be the same as 11,000 other,
Yeah.
let's say, Reiki masters, right? Like, but there's a way in which only you can say it that is necessary to be received by the people who need to receive it. And so knowing that that is enough and knowing that you are enough is a big part of the work, right? It's like, I don't have to get on here and figure out the newest tactic or the latest trend. I just got to show up and be me.
Yeah.
And that is enough. And just the rewiring of I'm enough. This is enough. What I'm doing is enough is so much of the work
Mhm.
that I do with clients, because it's like you don't need a new strategy. Actually, you don't need to pick up another business book or figure out all of the intricacies of business. It's actually very simple. If you just show up, your people will come. We had this. My background is in retail sales. We had this saying where we would say, if you build it, they will come. And without fail, we would put
Yeah.
together the equipment, right? We'd put together 200, pieces of equipment, and we'd wait, we'd be sitting there waiting. And without fail, the store would just flood this. And when we had like scraps of stuff out on the floor, the store would be empty. We'd be like, why is nobody coming in? But the same is true in the online space, right? Build it and they will come. So if you build it and you start posting out content and you're showing your face and you're telling your story and you're sharing the unique medicine that only you can share, your people will come. And really, too, also, it's a practice in our discipline and our
Yeah.
patience, which can be a huge, huge battle for folks when we're so used to the modern conditioning of, I want it and I get it now.
Yes.
And when you are doing sacred work, ancestral work, sometimes it's also many of us, we're way ahead, right? Like some
Mhm.
of us are talking about shit that the collective is not going to get for the next 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 fucking years.
Yes.
So yeah, you're
Yes.
probably going to need to post more than just 90 days consistently. It might take a while until people start to wake up and catch on.
Yes. Yes. And I love the way that you are this Rosetta Stone for business for the healer, where you are teaching these entrepreneurial pieces, but you're adapting them to the healer. So, what I'm hearing and what you just shared is that the ritual of what vibration are you in? When you're creating, are you creating because I have to post 3 times a day today? I have to
Mhm.
show my face and do it behind the scenes and do this out of force, out of, oh, in the entrepreneur book, it says this, this, and this? Or am I
Mhm.
actually in the vibration of sharing who I really am and
Yeah.
that being the thing that magnetizes them in and feeling excited and good and tapping into our healer abilities, holding the internal experience for long enough that the external matches up. And
Mhm.
in this world where we're taught that instant gratification, and since that time frame can be in the third dimension much longer for some of us because of how advanced we are, like what I say and talk about my services being, nobody's jumping on Google and being like, I'm looking for a quantum healer who can hold the container safely and bilocate her energy and guide me through and actually allow me to complete the cycles of my
Yeah.
resentment from eighth grade, blah, 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 and forced religion. Like, nobody's looking that up. So
Yeah.
sometimes it takes 45 fucking videos of my little
Mhm.
face and my little red lips
Yeah.
expressing to you enough where you feel it, even if you don't get it. But
Yes.
because of the vibration, you're like, I know that's it. I don't know what it
Mhm.
is. And I've had so many, especially private clients, book their discovery call and go, I'm not really sure what I want from you or what this would be, but I know I
Yeah.
want to do that stuff, this stuff with you.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me why I want it? Can you help me
Yes.
understand what it is? So,
Huge.
can you take that amorphous thing and help us break it down into these bite-sized pieces? Because some of us stumble into it. We're like, we're doing
Mhm.
it and it's kind of working, but
Mhm.
to have it sustain the understanding of the pieces and how to replicate and how to hold and how to move
Totally.
through are important.
Yeah.
And you are so gifted at that translation that I'm like, I
Thank
kind
you.
of just want to hear it myself. And then
Yeah,
I'll share it with you
absolutely.
guys.
So 100%. And I'm going to actually make it super simple. Like we're going to break down the actual logistics of the thing because what's happening is dealers, healers are dealing with two big challenges, right? It's number one, that healing work is intangible,
Yeah.
right? We can't see it necessarily. We can't smell it. We can't taste it. We can't touch it. And humans, we're such visual, tactile creatures that we're like, what is it we're actually buying? What
Yes.
is it we're actually getting? So that's the challenge number one. The challenge number two is that then not only are you taking this intangible thing, but then you're trying to sell it in a virtual space. So it's like the double whammy of
Yes.
intangible,
Yes.
right? So the way that we make the intangible tangible is by having a simple process or pathway, framework, method, however you want to talk about your thing, having something that says, I understand that this is where you are today. And I also understand that this is where you want to be. The gap between where you're at and where you want to be is a pathway that you and I will walk together inside my offer. So, a
Yep.
lot of healers are making the mistake of talking about, here's my offer, here's the details of the offer, here's what you get, here's how many calls, the method that I use, or the things I use. We do past life readings and Reiki. Y'all, they don't give a shit about that. They don't
Mhm.
care. They want to know how you are going to get them from the painful place that they're in now, from the discomfort, from the unhappiness, from the lack of joy and fulfillment that they're feeling, to all of the wonderful things that they can get to on the other side of your work together. So if you can master that, speaking about that bridge that you build in your offers, that's where the money is made. Okay.
Mm,
So
yes.
figuring out your pathway and talking about your pathway consistently, consistently, consistently. Because what they're saying when they come to you, they're like, I don't know what the pathway is. A
Yes.
lot of times you can clear that up by saying in your, regularly saying in your content, right? Like, this is the pathway that we walk together. Here's where you're at, here's where you want to be, and here's how I'm going to get you there. So that clarifies that. Also, a lot of folks as healers, a lot of times will say, well, they come to me and they're not really sure. It's important that you have, just as if you were to reframe that you had a sanctuary that you had
Mm.
people come to, right? When they came to you, you would take a moment to what? Have a conversation with them. You'd ask them, what have you done? What have you tried? What are you experiencing? Where do you want to go? What do you want from this? What are you seeking by coming here to this sanctuary, right? And I can tell you either I'm the healer for you or I'm not the healer for you. But this is a critical step that I would say 98% of healers are missing, right? They're like content, 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 and just hoping and waiting for people
Yeah.
to then swipe their credit cards. You got to start to have actual connection and conversation with people so that then you can say, this is the actual medicine for you with integrity, right?
Yeah.
Like you can fully give them an embodied, like, I know that this course, this membership, my one-on-one is the thing for you based off of what you're telling me. Otherwise, we're just pulling shit out of our ass.
Mm.
So I would say those are the really two biggest things is figuring out that bridge and speaking to that bridge. And we do this in my program fundamentals is like, what is your offer and the unique medicine of your offer? So you can talk about that with confidence. And then the conversational piece, which is the bridge between content and cash that we deal with in the boardroom membership.
I have so many questions. I'm so excited about this because
Let's
the
hear 'em.
clarity with which you break it down, like it sounds so simple and so easy in a way that you're like, okay, I'm almost taking that first step right now. Like I'm starting to like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh
Uh-huh.
yeah. Not
Uh-huh.
simple and easy as in, oh, that's dumbing down my work, but it
Uh-huh.
allows each of us as practitioners to go, oh, that makes sense from the
Mhm.
client side of things from
Mhm.
someone randomly finding me on the internet, not
Yeah.
knowing who and what I am, if I'm speaking in that way,
Mhm.
rather than here's the number of calls and here's what you get and here's the list of all the modalities that you have no idea what the fuck those do or are or how we're going to apply them, that from the
Yeah.
client perspective, you start to bit by bit, piece by piece with that repetition go, oh, I understand.
Mhm.
That's where I am. That's where I want to be. She can
Mhm.
get me there. They can
Mhm.
get me there. This
Yeah.
process could take me there. So
Yeah.
I love the simplicity because it encourages you, like the barrier of entry is really low, where it's like just
Yeah.
take that first step, start figuring out where are they? Where are they going to go? And how does your offer, how does your methodology do that? And not just
Mhm.
bombard them with terms or
Mhm.
tools that they don't understand. It really
Yeah.
helps put you behind the eyes of the client.
Totally. I mean, at this point, I've worked with over 400 healers.
Mm,
And if there's nothing else y'all take from this podcast today, is they don't care about what your methodology is, to be honest, right? I want us to lean into the empathy of like, many of the people that we serve are standing where we once stood,
yeah.
right? And it was deeply uncomfortable and painful. And they don't, when you're in that space, you don't give a shit about
Yes.
what the actual thing is. You're like, just help me heal and
Mm-hmm.
get and share with me the tools that are going to help me heal myself, right? They don't care if it's Reiki or readings or whatever the thing is. So if you can lean into that and remember that they don't really care what the modality is. It's cool to learn your unique approach to whatever that modality is, but if you can focus on the transformation and the journey and the path that you guide them on, like I said, that's your moneymaker.
And for me personally, how I weave the tools and the like what I'm doing is so unique to each person that when I was stuck in that space in my content of let me describe the each stepping stone of how I get you here. And
Yeah.
as a long-winded baddie, all the time struggling with, like, too many words, like, in my
uh,
active practice when I'm guiding you in meditation, that's so wonderful, but in content, I'm like, "I lost you. I've
yeah.
used 17 words to say the
Mhm.
same thing," and you're
Mhm.
like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And I've gotten that feedback from many
Mhm.
coaches of like,
Mhm.
"I truly don't know what the fuck you're trying to say in
Mhm.
this," and it's because 'cause I'm trying to say so many things because the
Mhm.
work is so many things that
Mhm.
this really brings it down to like practical space. Like,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
let my human put the content out instead of trying to encapsulate my full cosmic in like a
I mean,
7 slide
yeah.
carousel.
It can't be contained.
Yeah.
It's the right, like the universe being reduced to a 12 slide carousel. Like
Yeah.
what? Or a 90-minute reel. There's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
right. So I also wanted to say this too. Like when we do too much of the focusing on the self, right, in the content of like, I need to get all of these things out to say all
Yeah.
of these things out. If you can reframe from the self lens into the student lens, right, or client, whatever you call your people, like speaking directly to them gets so much easier when you're having conversations, regular conversations with these people, because you can say with full clarity and confidence, I see you. I
Yeah.
heard you when you told me that this is where you're at, and I know that this is where you want to be, and here's the thing that's going to get you there, right? And you can utilize that and make that the forefront of your content, because that's the type of content that people say, oh my gosh, she gets me.
Yeah.
She totally gets me.
And
So,
that's
yeah,
the content that converts. The
right.
content that someone on the other side of that computer in this very lonely and disconnected and disjointed reality where they have
Hmm.
forced us into single family homes, separate from our
Hmm.
communities, apart from other healers and practitioners and priestesses. When you
Hmm.
are experiencing content and you're like, she gets me, she
Hmm.
understands me, she must have been there and moved through it
Hmm.
herself to be able to say it in that way. Even when
Right.
for some of us, it feels so simple, it feels so introductory. That's
Yeah.
when it converts. That's when it lands.
Yeah.
That's when they're like, oh, yeah, not only has she been through it, but now she's able to come back and express it to me in a way that I can
Hmm.
get. She can take me from where I am to where I want to go, sometimes
Yeah.
closer to where we are currently.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Mm.
A hundred
You
percent.
You mentioned talking to the potential people and to your people and to your community. Now, as a heart centered practitioner, I'm going to speak for many of us because I've heard this so many times. The I don't want to be pushy, I don't want to come off
Hmm.
salesy. I'm sure you've like heard all of that so many times. Can
Hmm.
you give us some support, some guidance, some like a little bit of motivation of like scooching us forward on
Yeah.
how to have authentic conversations? How do we start those? Are you recommending reaching out to people who have commented on things? I know one of the
Hmm.
things that I really respond to is how have the people who have your freebies, have they heard from you recently? I
Yeah.
loved that question. So I want to
Yeah. Yeah.
open that whole
Yeah.
Pandora's box and let you rant.
Absolutely. So again, imagine that you have a shop or a sanctuary that people come to visit you. The big mistake I see healers making is they've got all these followers, and essentially they're just waiting until one day somebody sees a post and they say, that's the post, I'm ready to swipe my card. And do sales come in that way? Absolutely, they do. However, there is so much money being left on the table because you're only waiting for reactive sales. There's no actual proactive sales that are happening because there's no conversations. It just stops at they followed me and now I hope and pray that they decide to pull the trigger and swipe their card, right? How many of y'all have experienced that, right? Like even myself, when I first started, I was like, I'm just going to post, and that's it. So the method I teach is essentially to reframe your social media as your sanctuary, as your shop. So imagine folks are coming into your sanctuary. You wouldn't just stand at the back and look at them and be like, well, they made it in. I'm not going to say a word. Hope that they just mosey on over here and hand me their credit card.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. So, leaning into the energy we spoke about earlier, generosity, abundance, connection, the through line between content or the disconnect between content and cash is the same through line in all healing work. In all healing work, the highest purpose of it or highest use, right, is to get folks to reconnect with themselves, with their highest power, and with other humans, right? It's connection. And so that's the disconnect between content and cash is to really lean into the connection. So when folks come into your orbit and they say, I'm interested, they have gone far enough to basically raise their hand and say, I like what you got going on by giving you a follow. For me, and we've talked about this before too, Lindsay, like I'm a projector. So I look for an invitation. It's so
Mhm.
important to have an invitation,
Yes.
right? And not just be like cold DMing strangers on the internet. But once people follow you, they have walked into your digital storefront. If you're a business owner, right, and you're an entrepreneur and you're a healer who has an online practice, when they follow you, they have stepped into your digital sanctuary or your digital storefront, your digital shop, however you want to frame it. And they're saying, I like what's going on here. Now it's on you as the leader of the space to make that connection by offering some sort of generous welcome gift. This is how you open up the conversation. And because a lot of y'all have the upper hand here, right? Or the advantage of you don't have sales or business or marketing mentioned at all in your bios.
Mhm.
So people aren't necessarily like in my space, right? People are like, oh, well, she's probably trying to sell me something because she helps people with this stuff, right? But a lot of y'all folks are like, oh my gosh, she's here to offer me something that's like a gift. So if you can have something ready to go for people, just as if you would, and if you had a brick and mortar, people walked into your store, you say, hey, thanks for stopping by. Here's a little sample of something to get a taste while
Yeah.
you look around. If you can do that, your sales will double. The triple is where you learn to turn that into a conversation, a bigger conversation. But if you can do just that one step where you immediately offer folks and give them a little taste, a little welcome gift, and you say, hey, thank you for stopping by. I've got a free gift. If you'd like it, great. If not, I'm here if you have any questions. No
Mm.
pressure, no sales, because again, they've walked into your space. And so I do feel like we have a responsibility to at least give them the opportunity to get a taste and say thank you for being there.
Mm. That was such a huge shift for me as a projector myself. Waiting for the
Mhm.
invitation is like the bane of my existence. Like I'm just
Right.
like a little caged dog ready to like, oh my God, let me help. And
Yes.
to reframe social media as this forever open invitation,
Mhm.
because I started to see, and I know you are one of the people that I just like cold reached out to and was like, I'm so interested in your work. I want to
Yeah.
have a conversation. Would you be available? And I try to pitch the specificity of what in your work, in your content, in your vibe,
Yeah.
in your offering. I'm like, yes,
Mhm.
that. And
Yeah.
so many people respond to that cold DM of like, let's
Mhm.
have a live stream chit chat because I just
Totally.
want to hear more about that. And
Yeah.
for a long time, I wouldn't do that because as a
Mhm.
projector, wait for the
Yeah.
invitation. And as soon as I
Yeah.
reframed, you making a profile on social media to me is a part of that open invitation.
Mhm.
So I'm
Yeah.
loving you connecting those dots for me of when someone follows me, that is them coming into my temple, my sanctuary,
Yeah.
and going,
Yeah.
I'm a little curious enough to like walk
Uh-huh.
in here. Just like when
Yeah.
you're window shopping, there's a difference between
Yeah.
standing outside of a store and looking in
Yeah.
and actually being like, okay, that
Yeah.
thing over, like, I kind of want to touch that. I kind of want to smell that. I
Yeah.
kind of want to see that. Let me like
Yeah.
open the door and go in.
Uh-huh.
And we all know we hate those pushy salespeople,
Totally.
but we love when someone like shares where or tells us a little bit about that. Or my
Yeah.
favorite, you give me something to enjoy in here. Oh, there's a little
Yes.
drink, or oh, this little spritz, or oh, take one of these
Yes.
home. We all love that shit. So like
Yes.
reframing my
Yeah.
profiles as the temple, as the sanctuary, and a
Yeah.
follower being someone who like comes in and is like, I did the work of like taking the step over that
Yeah.
entrance line. How
Yeah.
are you going to receive me? And
Yes.
allowing that to be very in alignment with me as a practitioner versus this like bullshit social media, fake, not really me, only the internet. You're showing us that we get to really be ourselves. And if
Yeah.
somebody walked into my physical temple, I would not be like, "Oh, you're over there. I'm just gonna wait."
Yeah.
Fuck no. I'd
Yeah.
be up and
Yeah.
sharing and including and welcoming and like I'm
Yes.
having all these downloads of how that warmth and that connection, because
Mhm.
you're right, healers, we are connection. We are living,
Mhm.
breathing embodiments of these
Yeah.
ways to connect to ourselves and connect to others and connect to the collective. And so
Mhm.
social media has just like reframed once again for me. So
Yeah.
thank you so
Yeah.
deeply. I know that's going to
Absolutely.
hit for so many others.
Yeah, for sure. I
Mm,
love it. It's an important part of I think what it just a lot of folks they're not hearing that right now,
yeah.
right? Like we're being inundated, battered over the head with just like AI and
Yeah.
automation. And I'm a systems girl. I'm a 6'2" emotional projector. I'm a systems girly.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, it's still connection. Like
Yeah.
your competitive edge is your humanity and the way in which people can actually feel that through the way that you navigate social media. And yes, again, in your content, you'll transmit and people will feel that, but you can double, triple even your sales overnight by simply having real conversations and being generous and giving even if you can give them just a small something to give them a taste where they're like,
Mm.
oh my gosh, this is so me, right?
Yes.
They're rubbing the lotion on their
Yes.
hands like,
Yes.
I need more.
Mhm. Yeah, because that's happened to all of us where you're like, "Oh, I
Hmm.
would have never tried that thing on my own," and
Yeah.
yet that's the perfect fragrance, or that's
Yeah.
exactly the texture that I want. That's exactly this. And we are in such a saturated market now.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
post COVID, there are leaders, teachers, healers, offerers, holders of space, both
Hmm.
very authentic and very gifted. And also, I see a lot of people in this industry who are really capitalizing on wellness being at the forefront and loneliness being an epidemic and disconnection being a thing that so many of us are dealing with. And like our collective in big, massive parts is starting to wake up. And so it's becoming this booming industry. And so,
Yeah.
how do you differentiate the true energy workers, the true priestesses, the true gifted individuals versus those who grew up in marketing, grew up in advertising, grew up in
Yeah.
sales, know how to package, know how to do all the beginning stuff,
Hmm.
get that sale, and then they're like letting people fall and
Hmm.
slipping through the cracks and not holding safe containers and marketing things that they're not actually fully
Yeah.
capable of doing or only capable of doing until problems arise. And that's
Hmm.
when I get a lot of wounded clients coming from containers that were only held when it's like an even line. And as soon as someone has
Hmm.
childhood trauma, as soon as someone has something repressed, God forbid someone has an entity attachment or is dealing with something
Hmm.
like bigger and more profound, or especially now that I work with higher level healers who have successful businesses and they're
Yeah.
butting up against that like next skyrocket level, the
Yeah.
brighter your light, the more you attract some craziness. And like,
Yeah,
it's important that who you work with and who is guiding, leading, mentoring you can handle it, even when it's not just,
totally.
oh, my step by step delivery of my method,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
energy, vibration, healing. It's a big fucking deal.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. I would say that right there, what you're speaking to is my biggest bone to pick, if you will, with the online coaching, wellness, healing
yes.
space. Number one, it's like everything is about how to get more clients, and there's
Yes.
so little conversation about how to actually hold them.
Yeah.
And I focus more so on this in I have an offer called expansion, and then in my one-on-one, because you do get to that level where you're like, okay, let me get my first few clients, right? And then you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I've got a group of 10 people, and some people aren't getting along, and now my team member's coming in. I've got a new team member. I'm beefing with my team member. We're not seeing eye to eye
Yes.
because it's just humans humaning, right? The
Yes.
human experience. So it is so important that you put care at the forefront, and you do that by really learning to connect with your people, have real conversations. And the conversations you have, I've been talking about conversate, connect. We're learning to understand people, and specifically your people, because every business is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So if you're learning, like, I feel like this is really important when you're having these conversations, is if you're learning, let's say the majority of your people are dealing with that are attracted to your work, um, are dealing with a very specific type of childhood trauma. I'm not going to name the
Uh-huh.
name, but just let's say they deal with a very specific type of childhood trauma. It may it may be the most important business priority for you then to learn more in depth about working with that specific childhood trauma. Like,
Yeah.
that's your responsibility, right? Like, you have a responsibility to take care of your people and be able to hold space really in depth in that. So whereas a lot of coaches and teachers would say like, oh, well, you need to, just learn how to get more of those clients, or, maybe turn those clients away if you're not, like, no, like, if you have the desire and those are the people that are attracted to you, that may be an invitation for you to go ahead and support those people. And also in doing that, you want to get more support in how to do that, and
I
how
love
to actually support those people through that work.
this is such a big piece of my business offering and
Yeah.
who I serve. And it's one that I do not hear spoken to like maybe ever. So I'm so excited that you brought it up.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
are starting out, when you're growing your business, even when you're further down the line and you start to really realize that, or maybe you're not even realizing, that's a bigger issue, but like
Yeah.
you're going, okay, I've focused so much on the business. You start with this skill set and you find this desire, this purpose, this passion. You build a business, you start signing
Mhm.
clients, however long that takes you. You start serving
Mhm.
clients, you start developing offerings, programs, maybe go beyond one on one, and you start to see this like specific area or group or style, or like you're saying, specific trauma or arena that you're playing in. How do you encourage people to do that self reflection, do that your own shadow work, not just as your individual, but the shadow work of business owner, of like, hey, where does my skill set need to grow? Where is my
Mhm.
limitation? Where is my own integrity with what I'm offering and how I'm pitching? Because so often the business coaches are telling you to say things like, oh, you can only get this here. I'm the only person who can do this. I'm the absolute best. No one else will ever look even remotely like this. And like,
Yeah.
I actually made a whole YouTube video saying, like, I will never tell you that you can only get it here. That's absolute bullshit because there's
Yeah.
so many places that you can get it. But how do you
Totally.
balance what the business needs to
Mhm.
be able to continue bringing in clients, or even the limiting beliefs around that, with being in integrity with your own skill set?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is such a beautiful question. I have my students do a monthly reflection, and it's
Mm,
exactly on like not, it's like the number piece, right? Like we need to figure out what the numbers are telling us. And don't tell me that you believe in angel numbers, but you never look at the numbers in your business, because I glitch
So
with that.
true.
But like, so like, let's look at the numbers, and then also like, let's do a check-in with us. Like, how are we feeling about how things went? Like, what are people saying and what are they asking for? And how is that in alignment with my actual skill set? What is the
Yeah.
feedback that I'm receiving from my clients? Is what part is, like, I can take that feedback. What's feedback that might be their shit?
Yeah,
So
and
it's
how
a,
to pull
it's a
that
check.
apart.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because there's so much of what we're taught is like, just focus on the numbers and double down on the numbers, what's working, what's not working, and keep going. But there is a little more energetic and spiritual work, of course, as healers, like to be to be and maintain our integrity. You got to ask those deeper questions. And so, I mean, if any of y'all want that reflection, I'm happy to share it. It's like a Google form. So
Yes,
y'all can have
please.
that, and yeah, just message me and DM me and I'll shoot it over.
Yeah, I would love to put that in our show notes because I think
Yeah.
that as a spiritual business owner, it is different than just having a career or having a job, or even the difference between entrepreneur and soulpreneur when
Hmm.
your integrity as an individual is almost the same thing as your integrity as the business or as the offerer of service, because in a lot of ways they are one and the same. Like, I
Hmm.
can't take Priestess Lindsay out of my
Mm-mm.
business because that's what I'm offering is this
Yeah.
non-tangible, word to the wordless, name to the nameless type
Hmm.
thing. And if I am marketing that I can do this or hold this or offer this because that's the like, oh, that's what's shiny right now. Like when embodiment got
Hmm.
really shiny, when quantum got really shiny, when like this, and you're like, okay, I'm trying to follow these trends, but I also need to be self-reflecting on like, what are my pillars? And I see that
Hmm.
North Star getting lost a lot of times
Hmm.
when people start to really make big money in their business
Hmm.
and they start to see the division between scaling and what a lot of business perspective on scaling is
Hmm.
versus scaling in integrity. And then they get to this
Yeah.
point where they've sold a fuck ton of shit and they have a lot of things going and they're like, I don't feel in alignment with my programs anymore or with
Yeah.
what I'm offering or what
Hmm.
I used to teach in that area, or I'm personally interested in something new, and yet I'm bought in for all these payment plans to do this thing. It is a
Yeah.
little bit different than just selling a product or selling a service that is so separate from who you are, your passion, your purpose. And when you have a divine calling on this planet
Hmm.
that's about
Hmm.
more than just you as an individual and you making money, it's about what
Yeah.
I'm giving. Like my North Star is about the people that I'm serving. It's not
Yeah.
just about me. And I think that is
Hmm.
so different in spiritual business in
Hmm.
particular.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, for me, I know that I have, all of us have many purposes here, right? But one of my core main purposes is to play an important role in ending the broke healer curse for good. And it starts with these types of conversations. And only the
Yes.
internet, like, only because the internet is a thing, is this even a possibility during this
Yes.
timeline, right?
Hmm.
Like, it's such a powerful tool. And I do want to speak to something else that you mentioned earlier. And I've been hearing this a lot of like, so many players have entered the field
Yeah.
of the healing and the wellness space. And I keep hearing this about, I actually just wrote up some content on it because I've been hearing it so frequently lately, is the oversaturation of the market. And I'm going to push back on this and encourage everyone listening to this, is that there is no shortage of space for us, especially when you are in alignment with your divine calling. Like, there are so many people on this planet, and I want to, not only from the energetic and spiritual standpoint of like, when you're standing in alignment with your calling, there's no shortage of space for us, right? Like, it's just
Yeah.
that so many of us are finally liberated, and to be able to show up in our, and there's no, there's plenty of room for all of us. Number one, it's not oversaturated, and number two is the wellness industry is projected to get to, I'm going to screw up the number right now, but it's about to be like a multi-trillion-dollar market in 2027,
Yeah.
which means oversaturation is not even a thing right now. Like opportunity for sure. And
Yes.
as a queer, neurospicy woman of color, like, and Lindsay and I, we've talked about this, like, there aren't a lot of people that look like us in the wellness space. Okay. And with that being said, the opportunity to build communities and support people in their healing journeys, no matter what flavor of multiply marginalized human you are, people need to hear about healing and wellness and all of the things that we talk about from somebody who looks like you. And I'm
Yeah.
not big on, huge on like identity politics and all of that, but like it is important because I mean, representation matters. And
Yes, it
in
does.
the healing and the wellness space, this is one of the spaces that we are so underrepresented. And so
Yes.
I want to push back on the idea that there's oversaturation because I feel like there's just so much opportunity. And if you can remember that, it's one of the things that I see blocking, right, folks? It's like one of the like subconscious blocks of like, oh, the market's oversaturated. There's too many people. There's not enough space. Or because I don't look this certain way, because you don't look this certain way makes you that much more appealing to certain people,
Yes.
right? Like there are honestly,
Yes.
this, my humanness is going to come through here. It's like there are certain people I don't buy from because they look a certain way. And
Yeah.
I need to be seen and know that I'm seen when I am investing in my own growth, in my own healing, in my own business, etc.
And that's what it means to be a heart-centered individual, whether you're a practitioner or not, and having that FU money where, yes, I might see one of these carbon copied, blonde haired, blue eyed coaches who may or may not have the actual juice to it. And when I
Yeah.
have the level of wealth where I really get to decide and choose, like as aligned, heart centered individuals, we make those choices consciously. And so,
Yeah.
like, yes, I might see your stuff and respond to your stuff online, but I choose who to invest with and I
Yeah.
choose who to be in that container with.
Mhm.
The way that I've reframed it with this like oversaturation, I'm like the carbon
Mhm.
copy is oversaturated. And like that's
Mm.
a benefit to me that like so
Yes.
many of you who are just
Yep.
great at marketing, great at sales, great at looking at someone else's stuff and packaging your own thing or almost exactly copying the same thing over here. Like you guys are starting to go all in one area and it's starting to become easier and easier and easier for a client to go,
Mhm.
oh, all of that's over here. That's not what I'm looking for. Now you stand out. Your
Yeah.
stuff doesn't sound just like ChatGPT. Your stuff doesn't sound
Right.
like an exact regurgitation of what they're doing. You're sharing your story that no one else can copy. And so
100%.
I'm finding that that oversaturation is really just like making those of us who are really embodied in our uniqueness.
Yeah.
A lot of times, those of
Yeah.
us who are the black fucking sheep in their family, in their
God.
religious upbringing, in their community, who I've had to be this like, I stand out like a sore fucking thumb for so long.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
that's a good thing because I've
Yeah. Yeah.
done the work to get comfortable in being
Mhm.
visible and being the
Mhm.
outsider and being the outcast. And now my people are going, that's actually what I'm
Yeah.
looking for. That's actually what I
Yeah. Yeah.
want and what I'm attracted to.
Mhm.
And I'm allowing that to turn me into this neon billboard.
100%. That's the magic. When we embody it, the authenticity and embodying, it's like, she's fucking weird. I love it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, what a potent, profound conversation. Thank you so
for real.
much for all of this, like you have stated, now your embodiment offers of like giving and authenticity and being willing to share and giving people these like entry points in, giving not just an overview of the answer that I would give you if you buy my thing, but like, no, here's one piece that you can sink your
Yes.
teeth into right now. Start working with it right now. Like, my goal is not just to make money, it's actually based on the elevation of the collective, healers,
Mhm.
offerers, women, getting that big money into the hands of heart centered people, because that
Yeah.
is how we change the world. And each of us are like
100%.
biting off this specific piece and going, okay, guys, this is how I can do it.
Yep.
This is where I can
Yeah.
do it. This is who I can do it for. And we're all
Mhm.
helping each other. And that
Yeah.
collaboration over competition thing, especially with women, has been the way I've dealt with the sister wound and the like feminine to feminine witch wound. And I'm loving
Mhm.
everything that it's birthed, both in the podcast, in my live streams, in these beautiful connections. So thank you so much for being here with all of us today.
You do this so powerfully, and witnessing you roll out this show and the way in which you go about collaboration is so incredibly just like beautiful, aligned. It's what, like, if I could like use you in my program on the collaboration segment,
Mm.
I absolutely I'm going to be like, look at her.
Yeah.
Like this is how you fucking do it. Because I
Mm.
mean, you're killing it, you're crushing it. And like I said, it's been an honor to be here and thank you for having me. I'm so grateful and I enjoyed every second of this.
Oh my God. Now I'm like, let's do a collaboration little mini
Yeah.
episode together that you can put into your thing, because I love
Yeah.
that so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. We
there
will.
are going to be so many people that after watching, after listening, after each of like, they're going to be pausing and doing and pausing and doing and implementing and going into the show notes. If somebody's like, I'm obsessed, I need more, tell us where to find you, what you have to offer, what's coming up for you. Just like paint us the picture, walk us into your storefront, into your sanctuary.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you can hang out with me either Instagram or TikTok, Jessa Michelle underscore, or Spiritual Baddie HQ. I am really on both of those accounts. And I have right now, the boardroom membership is enrolling, and that's the most accessible way to work with me at this point. I have really built my business primarily off of high ticket. And because of moving and life and transition, I wanted something that was honestly like, not multiple weekly calls for me.
Yeah.
So inside the boardroom, it is my full program of like, how do you get from content to cash, the full, step-by-step process of that. And it's $44 a month. And then in the spring, I will be opening the doors again. This is actually the first time I've announced this, to my signature program, Fundamentals, which this is going to be like the fifth round of this
Wow.
program. And if you've been in my orbit for any amount of time, you've heard all the whisperings of Fundamentals. This program changed my life. Like it is really like my baby, my bread and butter. It is like I birthed this thing into the universe, and
Mm.
it's a business course, but if you've seen anything about it, you hear time and time again, people are like, this changed my fucking life. Like, so that will be open we do like a spring cohort. It's been a couple of years since I opened the doors for that. So I'm sure it will fill up very quickly. And I have, newsletters. I've got all sorts of content and freebies and whatever type of medicine that you might be needing to either start or scale your online healing business, you can come see me and I can point you in the right direction of what might feel right now.
So I know that sounded like the end of the episode, guys, but you said one more thing that I just have to like get into, because I
Yes,
don't
yes.
hear it often and it's in
Yeah.
such alignment for me and my business.
Hmm.
My bread
Uh-huh.
and butter is private coaching, which is extremely high ticket. And
Yeah.
I got a ton of flack for that because it is a high ticket dollar amount. I've had, the judgy people who don't think healing work should be charged for and you shouldn't be
Yeah.
paid. I would love to just hear a couple minutes about the
Yeah.
why and the what, because I am actively building a business where the majority of my income is from private work that is at a higher ticket, and the way that you grow
Mhm.
that, the way that you scale that, the limitations that you have to self-impose, like, I can only
Mhm.
take 3 private clients at a time
Yeah.
because of the level of container that I offer. So, like,
Yeah.
I just wanna hear a little bit more about that because very
Yeah.
few people say that, like, their main thing is the high ticket private work.
Yeah. Yeah, I did high ticket. I mean, that's really how I grew my business so quickly. Though, like, my story is I started my business, I was laid off, single mom, like literally had like negative $400 in my account. And then in 6 months I had doubled my corporate salary, and it was through high ticket offers. Yeah. Like I was
Wow!
crushing it. And
Yeah,
then,
oh my
I just
gosh.
started talking about that and people were like, "Show me how." So
Yeah,
I did a lot of one-on-one to start, and as a projector, as like a neuro spicy girly, like I run out of spoons real quick,
yeah,
and holding one-on-one space for one-on-one long term just wasn't really was a matter of like I physically cannot do this anymore. And so, what was the most scalable thing for me, the next step was then moving to a group container where I do a cohort once a year. We open the doors, we close them, we get so many people in. I have a couple co-coaches that support in the delivery of that.
mhm,
Um, and that was really sustainable for me for a long time. And then I had a huge life shift where I like ended a very long term relationship. I sold my house, I moved, just like my life literally, it was like a full
yeah,
death rebirth cycle. And I knew that I wasn't quite ready to go back to one on one. And I also knew that I wasn't quite ready for my cohort just yet. So, to hold my next cohort. So I said, okay, in this transitionary period, the thing that is accessible to me, and also in response to the fact of like everyone was like, well, Jessa, I'm not quite ready to do either $1,000 intensive or a
yeah,
4,000 group program. My response was, okay, like let's build a membership out. People can come and go. It's $44 a month. And then the people who want to upgrade into intensive or whatever, I've also had more opportunity to spend a little time with them and their businesses so that when we move into one-on-one containers, we have that familiarity, and also
yes,
it gives me more time and space to vet people before they move into their container. Because a lot of times
yeah,
that when we are focused on high level one-on-one, right, it's maybe a couple calls and an application, and then you're like, boom, and this person
yeah,
has like Voxer access and weekly calls. And that's great for a lot of folks. But for me, I really am big on taking the time to build intimacy with people before then transitioning them into one-on-one. So I know that was a
mhm.
long-winded answer, but does that answer your question?
I loved all that wind. Yes, I loved all of
Okay,
that
okay, okay.
because it's a more unique perspective around the one-on-one and talking, like, nobody talks about when
Yeah.
you book a high ticket one-on-one client, you are giving so much access to you, and I'm
Hmm.
not talking just, like, on your Zoom call and in your Vox or Telegram. I'm talking about energetically, like, how much I
Hmm.
think about my private clients, either private coaching or magical mentee, because I split them up
Yeah.
between client and student, but how
Hmm.
much I think about them, how much I connect to them, how much energy work I do, and I'm holding a container the
Hmm.
entirety of that program, which is 2 or 3 months at least. They
Yes.
become, and we've all heard this, you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Well,
Hmm.
my private clients and my magical mentees, they start popping into that inner circle so often.
Yeah.
So vetting and intimacy and
Hmm.
getting to work with soulmate clients instead of just
Yeah.
paying clients is a
Yeah.
big aspect of
Right.
private work when that's like your
Oh,
main
huge.
offering.
I
Huge.
mean, like my one-on-ones and we're meeting up in dream space. Like we're
Yes.
like I hit my head hits the pillow and it's like, bitch, can I get one dream without you, please?
Right? Right? Ugh. On a
Yeah.
discovery call, I had a woman tell me that she went into meditation and heard my first and last name and had to
Oh,
search which Lindsay
yeah.
Schroeder on the internet because she had like stated that she wanted a guide, wanted a mentor, and heard my first and last name. in
I
meditation
love
and
it.
had to, like, search
Yeah.
through the internet to find an old article that I wrote that, like, connected her to, "Oh, this is, like, a mentor, a leader, a teacher," and then found me and booked the call. And, on
Oh
the
my
intake
gosh.
form, I always ask, like, "How did you hear about Lindsay Schroeder?" And she was like, it's kind of
A
a weird
dream.
story." And so that was the first thing that I covered. I was like, "I'm so drawn to your response of, like, how'd you hear about me?" And she just
Yeah.
turned bright red and was like, "So it's kind of a weird thing, and I'm a little nervous to share it." And I was like, "Oh, girlie, this is the place for weird."
This
And,
is
like,
the
from
place
that
for
moment,
that.
we were
Yeah.
like, "Yeah." Oh,
Oh,
so,
I love it.
ugh, thank you so much for that
Yeah,
additional little
of
add-in.
course.
Ugh,
Yeah.
have a
Happy to
wonderful
share.
day. Lovely, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing
Enjoy.
so much wisdom.
Of course. I'm sure I'll see you soon. Talk to you soon. Bye, y'all.